tiramisu gelato, which is amazing. Anyway, I have some bookish random prompts that I have enlisted a couple of friends to help me with, so I don't know what is going to be in here. I did give them a couple of examples when I asked them to do this for me, and so I just put those examples in there because I was like, well, I may as well include them. But other than the couple that I've added in, I don't know what's going to come out of this. I hope there's going to be some thought-provoking, interesting, random questions. They're a little bit like more random and less obvious than your typical questions. So I don't know how many we're going to do, because I don't know how long it's going to take me, because I'll probably ramble on a lot. I might have to cut a lot in this video because I reckon I'm going to be sitting here thinking for some of it. But yeah, I'm just going to see how many we can get through. If there's a ton left, I can always do a part 2, but I'm going to go for a little rummage. Okay, the first one, I'm actually a bit nervous, I don't know why. Okay, this says the last book to make you sob. Sob. And this is a really easy one for me to answer because I literally told you guys about it in my last reading wrap up. And it is Captain Corelli's Mandolin by Louis de Bernieres, I think is the author's name. And yeah, that book had me crying in multiple points, not just a little bit. There was literally a point where I felt pathetic. Actually, I just couldn't stop crying. I thought I was getting over it, and then I would think about things or something else would be mentioned, and it wasn't even just about the narrow event that had kind of triggered the crying, but I was kind of just crying for how awful humans can be to each other on a macro level. You know, generally one-on-one humans are great, but in a collective, the damage that can be done, and yeah, the atrocities of war and other horrendous things, and it just, all of it kind of built up inside me as this big volcano of emotion throughout the book. So yeah, not fun subject matter to start with, but without a doubt, that's the book that made me sob the most recently. Let's pick another one. That one was super easy. Let's go for this. Okay, yeah. If you could read one book again for the first time, what would it be and why? This is a really good question, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a question that I have kind of, I guess, occasionally thought about. I am gonna have to take a little bit of time to think about it though, because I think it feels like this is like a superpower somehow, and it feels like I need to give my like thoughtful, considered opinion on it. So my initial feeling is that I would love to read Piranesi again for the first time by Susanna Clarke. I don't know why I can never remember her name. I always want to say Suzanne Collins, who wrote The Hunger Games, but yes, Susanna Clarke, Piranesi, because it's my favourite book. I think I had such an incredible reading experience the first time I flew through it. The opening paragraphs, you're like disoriented, it's quite confusing, no idea really what's going on, and then the whole reading experience was fantastic, and there is a little bit of such important themes and incredible characters. So I actually think if I could read it again, I would choose that one to read just on my own and see what my reaction to it would be, and what my enjoyment would be like. So starting afresh, I would pick that one, I think. Okay, I'm gonna just take the first one off the top. God. Oh, I like this question. Do you normally root for the goodie or the baddie? Oh, I'm not gonna lie, this is a hard question to answer, because yeah, there's definitely a part of me that sometimes roots for the baddie in a weird way. Obviously, it depends what the context of the book is. I don't think I can just give like a one-word answer to this. I think if it's a kind of real-world setting, I'm more likely to want to root for the goodie. But if we're talking about kind of fantasy, or something that's a bit removed from everyday life, then yeah, maybe there's a feeling of rooting for the baddies kind of a bit easier. I think, you know, it kind of goes back to the rebellious side of you. Particularly if someone is kind of posited as, you know, perfect, amazing person, or whatever, like, group of people without flaws, like goodies, I might not love them as much as like a flawed character. It so depends on the context, and I'm not gonna lie, if I kind of fancy the person, maybe I'm more likely to root for them, which is awful to admit, right? But, or, you know, maybe often the goodie, as long as they are real characters. But there are plenty of occasions where I have maybe not rooted for the baddie, but found something I kind of enjoy about them, and that, you know, you can kind favourite side character, and that is from the Chestnut Springs. I don't know what Chestnut Hills are. Chestnut Springs romance series by Elsie Silver, and they are standalone, but because they essentially each one revolves around a different brother, all the family are very much in each one, and I loved the father. So I guess he's quite old. I don't know whether he was like in his 70s or something, maybe late 60s. But yeah, all of his sons are, in their 20s and 30s. So he's quite prominent in terms of he's in each book and has a good amount of, dialogue and stuff. And I just found him quite funny and charming and adorable. And I really wish that she had written a book for him as the main character with his own romance, because I think he kind of does have a little bit of a thread of romance going through them, but ultimately, he never stars in a book. So I think as a side character, he kind of outstripped many of the main characters in those series. So yeah, that's going to be my answer. Next up, there are still so many in here. Just pick this one. It's written on the outside. Because I got them to do it on sticky notes. It's kind of hard to unpeel them. I recommend a book for someone who doesn't like reading. Yeah, that's tough. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on this for some reason, even though clearly it doesn't matter. Obviously it has to be kind of easy to read, quite quick to get into and engaging. But yeah, something that captivates you, maybe not too long, nothing too literary. I just thought Into Thin Air by John Krakauer, which is non-fiction, but it's like written in a really compelling way, talking about the Everest disaster that happened in 1996. I've talked about this so much on this channel already, so yeah, I love it so much. I think that most people could pick that up and really, really enjoy it, so that could be one pick. A second one would maybe be I am tempted to say Misery by Stephen King, because it's quite short. It's very intense in a way that I think will keep you reading. I think Stephen King is really easy to read in terms of the writing style, and he does really great kind of human stories. The only thing with that one is because it's horror, it's not supernatural horror, but that would be kind of maybe less broadly appealing to loads of people. So yeah, I don't know if that's already a very good choice. Is there anything else? I'd be tempted to say Life of Pi, because I think that's so good, but is that a bit too literary for someone that doesn't read at all or doesn't like reading, maybe? Also, going back to the side characters question, I don't know if Richard Parker from Life of Pi, aka the Tiger, counts as a side character, but I would put him as fantastic, amazing side character. Maybe a Claire Keegan book, because so short but very well written and quite impactful. So maybe So Late in the Day or Small Things Like These could be quite good. which of my best books of all time has been turned into a film, basically. I think it would be Fiesta by Ernest Hemingway. I don't know if that's been turned into a film as a problem, because I don't have very good film knowledge, so I'm going to say that one hasn't been. I assume some Hemingways have been. Maybe like Foam the Bell Tolls, if that's been turned into a film, or Wuthering Heights, one of those two. What is your favourite character flaw, i.e. self-sabotage, arrogance, alcoholism? That makes me laugh because I think that we'd already had a few glasses of wine when she wrote this. I guess I quite like those characters that are kind of like sarcastic and kind of like set themselves against the world, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm trying to think of the right words for it. Like, not misanthropic, because I don't think it goes that far, but someone like Dean from Supernatural, a little bit. Like, they kind of have that too much of a front. They like struggle to open up, and they put on a front to the world. What would that be called? They have like a shell. Defense, I guess, like a defense, like overly defensive, that kind of thing. I can't think of the word for it, but yeah, that's my kind of probably favourite character flaw that will probably end up making me like that character particularly. So yeah, that kind of defensive, like in a sarcastic, like way, don't want to make themselves vulnerable. I hope you know what I mean. I think we're doing okay. I think we could definitely get through them. Who is the sexiest character? Who is the sexiest character? I was gonna say something really stupid then, like Gollum, but that obviously is not true. It also has to be memorable as well. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I loved Sirius Black, but I don't think you would call him sexy, like grizzled, kind of chip on the shoulder kind of guy. But sexiest character, I mean, I feel like it would be so basic if I just said Rhys Sand from the Court of Thorns and Roses series, but I mean, he is up there. He is definitely up there. I think he carries that series, honestly. I just had a chance to think about that a little bit more because we have a visitor. If I can show her. Anyway, distraction over. Sexiest characters. So that would be a couple that came to mind. Jaime Lannister. I know I should not like him, but there was something about his arc of character development that I loved. And again, I do like the baddies sometimes, and he's definitely in the kind of grey area territory. So there's him. There was Julie Cooper. I used to love when I was younger, and some of her characters I was basically in love with, but there were a couple that I really liked. I can't remember all of the names. I think some of the ones in Polo I really liked. And then one is from Zodiac Academy. Zodiac Academy. Basically, most of the men in that. But yeah, I had a real soft spot for Lance from Zodiac Academy. So yeah, that's my answer for that one. Okay, next up. I hope it's an easier one. Okay, what was the first book you read / what was the book that got you into reading? I feel like I always say Harry Potter for the book that really sparked my love of reading, but I do remember enjoying some Judy Blume books when I was younger. I think that must have been before Harry Potter. I don't know. I mean, there were loads of children's books I remember reading when I was super young. Planning to probably share some of them with you that I really love, but there was one that I always apparently got out of the kids' library, which was called Mucky Mabel, which is about this girl called Mabel who always made a mess when she ate. I think that was the premise of the book. And I mean, it must have been like 4 or something. And there was another book called No Jumping on the Bed, which was brilliant, and I always used to love jumping on the bed. And we were all going on a bear hunt, which was amazing fun. If it was being read to you. Next one. What is your favourite or most memorable line or phrase from a book? I don't know if I have any specifics. I definitely love repeating things from films, like just silly things. In the Harry Potter films, Hermione says, that's not going to work, and I always do that. That's not going to work, and I always repeat that mostly to myself when I'm trying something that's obviously not going to work, and things like that. But I don't know if, there are loads of beautiful quotes, and I actually did a video on the thought-provoking quotes and stuff, but I don't know if any of them have stayed with me so that I can just randomly repeat. I always like the phrase from Shakespeare, which is, though she be but little, she is fierce, which I think is just kind of a little inspirational for us short people out there. But yeah, I think I'll just go with that one because I'm gonna be sitting here forever if I try and remember the other ones. Okay, this is who is your dream guy from any book? Who would you date if you had to? I feel like I've kind of answered that. Obviously, sexiness doesn't equate to wanting to date, essentially. So yeah, I would probably rule out Redwood, maybe Jamie Lannister. He's definitely problematic. But yeah, I think Lance from Zodiac Academy is still a strong contender. He's sexy, and I think he's good boyfriend material, so I'm gonna stick with him for this one. Okay, this is one that I wrote. Which book would you change the ending of, and what would it be? And I guess because I wrote it, I thought about it, even though I wrote this a while ago. And the answer's gonna be, actually, recency bias is gonna be creeping in again, but I would initially say Harry Potter, and this may be controversial, and this is a spoiler Potter has been around long enough that if you wanted to, you would have found out what happened at the end by now. So here's your warning. But yeah, I would change the ending of Harry Potter. Probably not very in a popular way, but I was having this conversation with another friend, and she agreed that genuinely I wanted, not like wanted, but it would have fit the story, in my opinion, if Harry had died. Especially in the book, the moment he's walking into the forest, ready to sacrifice himself, and his like guardians and parents, like the meaningful people, adults in his life, come back with the resurrection stone to walk with him into the forest. I mean, that's such a poignant, beautiful moment, and I genuinely believe that that it was being set up, that the intention was originally there for Harry not to survive the books, and then for whatever reason that didn't end up happening. Maybe like just in terms of like it being a really popular book and it's kind of hard to kill off the main character in a fantasy, but I think it would have fit. I think it made much more sense for the story. I think the whole loophole get out of jail free card essentially that gets used in order that he doesn't really die, I don't think that was as clean as if he'd just have died. So I kind of think it would have been better, in my opinion. Maybe not everyone's. And then I'm not going to spoil this one, I'm just going to say the recency bias in me. I would have loved to have made one little tweak to the ending of Captain Corelli's Mandolin. That would have been more enjoyable overall. And maybe, it's funny because Harry Potter, I'm wanting to make it more sad, but I was just going to say a couple of more books that maybe some of the Ernest Hemingway books, I would maybe like to change the endings and it would end up being a happier ending, but yeah, it's tough, but I will stick with Harry Potter. Definitely getting to the bottom, and I think there must be another one that I've written at least in here. Top 3 scariest books. Okay, so yeah, Misery for me by Stephen King was just so scary and tense, but in a tension-filled way. So that would be in the top 3. I don't know, I'm not putting these in order necessarily. The Shining, definitely up there. What else is a contender? I mean, this is the thing I've been fighting for so long, to get more scared by books. House of Leaves was a little bit scary. Definitely a little bit scary. When I was younger, I loved reading the Everworld series, and there were definitely some really horrifying and scary moments in that. I don't think I can put kids or see things that you can kind of connect with them, or like that intrigues you or whatever. But essentially what I'm trying to say is their natures, their fiery, wild, brooding natures essentially reflect the external environment of the wild, inhospitable Yorkshire moors. So I think that book for atmosphere is incredible. I will say Misery again in terms of the terror, the dread atmosphere, the tension. I think that book is incredible for atmosphere. So yeah, I would probably say one of those two. I also really like 1984, I think. Also has the real sinister, the atmosphere of being watched and controlled in the dystopian world that George Orwell has created. So yeah, I would say one of those books. Really getting down to the last few. This is kind of similar, maybe not similar, but what book has the most disappointing ending? So not like that I would change it, but yeah, what book has the most disappointing ending? I mean, I'm gonna say Game of Thrones, because technically the book series haven't ended, which is very disappointing for someone that's reading the books. So yeah, that would be a bit of a shout, but is that allowed? I think I kind of want to flip this and say, like, what book has the best ending, in which case I feel like Life of Pi would be a really great shout. But in terms of time dedicated, I think that Zodiac Academy was a bit anticlimactic as the ending. Gone with the Wind as well is kind of left with a lot unanswered and just kind of almost if not midway through, but yeah, Gone with the Wind was a bit frustrating as well. So a couple of answers for you. Okay, what's your favourite classic? I really like Wuthering Heights. I would say Wuthering Heights, 1984. I'm trying to remember back to my best books of all time, which I filmed ages ago. I think it would be one of those two. I really liked The Tenant of Wildfell Hall as well by Anne Bronte. I don't know, it depends what you count as a classic, because if we're counting Ernest Hemingway, then yeah, any of his books. So if you count him, for sure, I would choose seem that intimidating, really. And you know, books, wine, vampire slaying, I could do that. Okay, I think we are down to three. And then the tub is officially empty. Okay. Which house from a book would you love to live in? I mean Hogwarts, but that's not really a house, is it? Do you know what I always think about? Well, not always, but I remember reading I Capture the Castle by, is it Dodie Smith? And that was like this kind of mad family situation, like kind of chaotic. And I think they lived in this kind of crumbly old house, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and that would be kind of fun somehow in a weird way. So yeah, I think that would be maybe. There was just something really heartwarming about that. So yeah, the house from I Capture the Castle. It's kind of similar vibes. If you had to be in a book, which book would it be? I mean, again, Harry Potter would be great, but I would say maybe, yeah, probably something magical, because why not? I like the Bridge Kingdom series by Danielle L. Jensen, and in particular I loved the setting of the Bridge Kingdom, and you know, the environment like seemed like such a beautiful place to live, so lush and green and surrounded by sea. So yeah, I would maybe choose that book because I think it'd be fun to live there. Yeah, I think. You think that would be good? Okay, we're on our last one. I hope it's a good one. Let's see. Oh no. It's another romancy one. Hottest couple. And it literally just says hottest couple with a heart. Okay, I can go a bit different on this one. I actually think that it's gonna be two gay couples, I'm not gonna lie. The guys from For the Fans by, oh gosh, who's it by? Is it like Nyla K or something? I might have to correct on screen. Can't remember what their names are at all. But they were a hot couple. I really liked their story. So yeah, I would definitely go with them. And then also I did really love the couple, the guys from I can't remember the name of the book or the author. It was one of those really terrible dark romance series. I'm gonna have to look this up. Give me 1 second. I think it's called God of Fury by Rena Kent, which is like a